Hello and welcome to Hackney Council's first virtual show and share session. So firstly, we want to make a big shout out to all the staff that are doing a great job in what is very uncertain times. Keep up the good work. We know you're doing your best for our customers. So what are these sessions about? They're about updating everybody on what we've been doing over the last couple of weeks, showing what's happening next. And as this is our first virtual show and share, you get to post your questions on the benefits and housing needs Google community. This is the project and vision. The key parts of this that we've highlighted over our last few sessions are the bits in orange. That we want the service to be easily understood, fair, accessible and beneficial to our residents. So a couple of quotes that we got from Jennifer Winter, our head of service, when we're talking about the vision, in particularly the one on the left, everything that everybody does should be geared around preventing homelessness, has been key to underpinning the whole service redesign project. So I'm very excited to introduce our new and updated service redesign project tube map. So to highlight the key changes, a major junction point of the map has always been about understanding customers' vulnerability. We've now added into that the importance of understanding their assets. If we can identify strengths, we can help them, assist them with their vulnerabilities. We've also added a little branch line for information advice. This is because people may come into the service and just need general information advice and will be mostly web-based. So we've added an optional stop on the higher need lines, which is the light blue and the dark blue, of crisis support. A lot of people who will be getting into these situations will naturally be experiencing some kind of crisis. So this gives us the chance to focus on that and offer the necessary support. So going forward, this starts to separate out the differences between the approach on the different lines. So on the light touch line, we've got tools for self-service. On the light blue line, we've got creating a shared plan. And then for those that are with multiple and complex problems, we've got the option of creating a multidisciplinary plan. Then to follow up the work we've been doing at the earlier stop, on each line, the top line would be some kind of auto reminder. The middle and light blue line, we would check in with the customer and nudge them along that they've still got actions to complete and let them know the outcomes of the actions we've completed. And then at the bottom line, for those in most need, we've got collaboration between professionals around the council, pulling in who we need to give the customer the specialist support they need to come to the end of the tube line. We've also added on at the end at the moment, tenancy sustainment. There is already good work going on tenancy sustainment within the teams. This is key to underpinning prevention activity so that they don't re-enter the service. The service principles that underpin all the work we're doing are now on the screen. So today's focus, we are looking to update everybody on information and evidence, building a shared plan, understanding vulnerability and assets. This is a key part of the journey, and of course everyone's favourite, single view.
Okay, so a quick update on information and evidence. So we're doing some more feedback sessions, and just a quick recap on what we've got here. So we've been asking the draft web pages, and they've been giving us what they think is useful in green and highlighting content there, and highlighting content that they found confusing or that they disliked in red. And so we've been learning, we've been trying to learn what's easy for residents to understand and what content they find relevant, and whether they're interested in things like the waiting time calculator, and can we better manage residents' housing expectations with the updated content. So a few things that we've been learning here is that residents are interested in a waiting time calculator and that they are surprised by the minimum waiting time results. And they're interested in other types of content like embedding videos. Soraya?
Yep. So yesterday we carried out an internal accessibility assessment on the information evidence tool, just to ensure that it meets legislation requirements. It was a really great learning opportunity for the team because many of them hadn't done this before, and also having a developer on site at the same time was really, really useful because now he knows what to look out when he's developing the tool. In terms of other learnings, we learned that we need to improve the way the navigation tool was working. So have like a breadcrumb trail so that users can go back and forth on the page and just not get stuck. Also clarify what the links are. So if a link is read in isolation by a screen reader, someone isn't lost and doesn't know what it meant. So that's one of the things we're going to be improving. And the next steps will include producing a final report of the assessment so that our developers can then work on and making the changes so that it's ready for the external accessibility assessment, which is due to take place on the 30th of March.
Okay, so on to building a shared plan. So we've done some new design and development features, including showing whose steps are added by editing and deleting, etc. But actually, I'll just show you that for now. So here, through single view, you can create a goal for someone. So finding my own place in the private rental sector. You can add steps. And that will show you the date that was agreed and who that was created by, and you can also edit these steps as well. You can also now share with residents, so putting in the customer's name and mobile number there, and that will share with them. And that will look something like this when you share it with a resident. So you can see we still have a little bit of design work to do with some of the spacing, but very exciting that residents can now receive a link to a read-only view of their shared plan. We've been continuing to test this with some officers in the benefits team and housing advice and options, learning what support do officers need to work in this way, and how can we get multiple officers to feed into the same plan. Some of the stuff we're learning is that less is more. Officers quite like how this makes the plan bite-sized, and it actually does mean the plan is constantly evolving, but there are lots of opportunities to improve it, including capturing long and short-term goals separately, adding due dates, adding a bit of a space for advice, and making sure this stands up as evidence if we were discharging duty, and of course making sure that this fits with Jigsaw and with current processes. To support officers to create actions and share resources, we've been starting to collect things on a bit of a knowledge bank. So this is something that we'll be testing in the next sprint, but these were some things that were captured from a housing options toolkit. So ideas of suggested actions for residents and the council. So officers could open these, and they could copy those actions into the shared plan if they needed, and then share that with the resident, for example. And what's next? If you have useful resources that you share or actions that you copy and paste, we would love to collect those. We're going to be building out this knowledge bank, so let Ashley or I know if you want to get involved in being part of building that or doing some testing of shared plans.
Okay, so understanding vulnerability and assets. Just to quickly recap. So that's kind of at the very beginning of the person's journey, and it's something that kind of needs to be done for most people going on whatever track they end up taking on the map. So just to recap what we've been doing, we've been using the vulnerability checklist with three officers from the benefits team, and we've been doing regular catch-ups with them to find out what they've been learning. But what we're really wanting to do now is understand how we can start encouraging officers to capture assets and what needs to be done to do that. And we want to do that because we believe that it will give officers more time to get a more holistic picture of the resident situations, and also support officers in ways that they can help guide residents in helping themselves and maybe moving them further up the track. So we've started designing some concepts around different designs and prototypes that we could use, and this is just one example where we've been looking at how we could encourage the residents to capture their own story and using prompt questions to kind of help them tell their own story around the support networks that they might have and assets that they might have available to them. And then looking at building a tool where officers can sit with residents or be on the phone with residents and go a bit further into those assets and start capturing those together. So what we want to learn really from this is are officers able to identify assets and build this as part of a strengths-based assessment, homelessness assessment? What questions does staff need to ask to understand resilience? And do officers feel confident using this and really using this part of the triage process? And what does this mean for residents? And is it a way that we can look at moving residents up the service map? So our next steps for this are really just to build on the current design concepts that we have and also explore ways of surfacing information that's already out in the systems that we've got, like Academy and UH, around vulnerabilities and assets. We want to understand how can we surface this information, where should that live? And really the main thing we want to do is start simulating these conversations and using these tools with a small group of officers to understand if it would work in their workflow or what we'd need to do to change that.
So about single view, we worked lately on some more user interface aspects. The first one of them is renaming the rent account ref to tenancy ref, and we've also added payment ref as a new field in the app.
In addition to that, we've also improved the Connect Records button. As you can see, we moved it to the top to avoid unnecessary scrolling. And we also disabled it unless at least one record is selected.
On the search activity, we have finally implemented the ability for you to search for notes and documents. So as you can see there, if you just click on the search icon, you've got a handy drop down that allows you to select what you want to see. Also, you could search by a specific term. So if you search for client, you'll just see all notes that have the word client in them. You can search for stuff like evidence as well, just to quickly filter the activity to see what you want to see. We also implemented a handy back to search button that just takes you back to where you left off.
Cool. So since the last show and tell, we've now onboarded an extra 37 users. So we've got 120 users currently onboarded onto Single View, which is awesome. Our next cohort is our final cohort, which will consist of the housing advice officers, house sleepers, and benefits. And then we'll just do a mop-up round. We're keen to get some super users from each service area so that there's some support while people are working remotely, and so that the demand is less on our team. Also, since the last show and tell, we've also added Hotjar onto Single View. So Hotjar will provide some analytics, and some of the analytics that we've found so far is that first name is the most commonly common field used for search, and approximately 70 pages are viewed per day. So I imagine that as more and more people get onboarded, well, this number will increase. So we're just going to keep monitoring the Single View stuff. The other thing that we were really keen to get is some volunteers to help with Single View testing. So what we're trying to do is implement a cycle of regular usability testing over the next few weeks so that we can test some of the new designs which cover and meet accessibility needs and that cover the new features. So if anyone's interested in being involved in this testing process, just let us know. It only takes about 15 minutes of your time. So let myself or Glyn know, and our emails are on the slide deck. Next, we're going to be doing a spike on Jigsaw to see if we can get Jigsaw documents displayed within Single View. And I'm going to be working on the accessibility internal assessment so that we can get our designs up to the standard. And then finally, we're going to be onboarding the final cohort, as already mentioned.
So while we're all working virtually, we want to continue the discussion and the promotion of the project. So we'd like it if you all posted your questions and comments on the benefits and housing needs Google community. If anybody has any problems accessing this, just drop me an email. That's claireoldham@hackney.gov.uk, and I'll see if I can sort any problems out for you. Thank you very much for your time.